My name is Walter, and I'm 78 years old. It's been nearly 8 long years since I began living alone, following the passing of my beloved wife. Those years have been a quiet, often heavy journey of reflection, and it's only now, in the twilight of my life, that I've come to a profound realization. It wasn't that the people I cared about chose to abandon me. No, it was I who, without meaning to, pushed them away. No one ever sat me down to explain why they drifted out of my life. There were no heated confrontations, no pointed accusations, no clear moments of blame. Instead, the truth revealed itself slowly in subtle but unmistakable ways. In the fleeting glances that carried unspoken discomfort, in the long pauses that filled conversations where warmth once thrived, and in the gradual fading of phone calls and visits that I once took for granted. It was as if the connections I held dear slipped through my fingers, not because of any grand betrayal, but because of small, unnoticed missteps that accumulated over time. Today, I want to share with you a deeply personal reflection. The 12 harmful habits I unknowingly cultivated over the years. These were behaviors I thought were insignificant, mere quirks of my personality. But in truth, they caused discomfort, frustration, and even sadness to those around me. They were the silent culprits that eroded my relationships, leaving me to face the weight of loneliness. I'm not sharing this to dwell on regret or to cast blame on myself. I hope to offer you the wisdom I've gained through hard-earned experience so that you might avoid the mistakes I made. I want to help you see the subtle ways we can unintentionally distance those we care about so that you don't find yourself years from now looking back with the same ache of solitude that I've come to know. Let my story be a guide, a gentle warning to help you nurture the connections that matter most in your life. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now, let's get started. 1. Repeating old stories too often, as if the past mattered more than the present. In my younger years, I was a storyteller, weaving tales of my adventures, triumphs, and even failures with a sense of pride. I thought I was passing down a legacy, preserving moments that shaped me, like the time I worked 2 jobs to buy my first car, or the summer I traveled across the country with nothing but a backpack and a dream. These stories felt like treasures, pieces of who I am. But over time, I noticed eyes glazing over, polite nods replacing genuine engagement. Friends and family wanted to connect with me in the present, to hear my thoughts on their lives, their challenges, and their joys. Instead, I was anchoring our conversations in the past, inadvertently signaling that those old moments mattered more than the ones we could create together now. It wasn't until my daughter gently pointed out, "Dad, we know about the car story. Tell us what you think about now," that I realized I was stuck. I've since learned to listen more, to ask questions about their lives, and to share stories only when they add meaning to the moment. The past is a foundation, not a cage. 2. Criticizing the younger generation. I used to look at younger people, my kids, their friends, or even strangers, and think they lacked the grit or values of my generation. I'd mutter about their obsession with phones, their unconventional career paths, or their seemingly carefree attitudes. I called it wisdom, believing I was offering perspective from a life hard-earned. But deep down, if I'm honest, there was a thread of envy. Their energy, their opportunities, their fearless embrace of a world I barely understood. It stirred a quiet resentment I didn't acknowledge. My criticisms, like pointing out their lack of discipline or short attention spans, weren't landing as sage advice. Instead, they built walls. My son once said, "You don't get what it's like for us now." And it stung, because he was right. I was judging without understanding, Now, I try to ask questions instead of critiquing, to learn about their world, its pressures, its possibilities, and to celebrate their strengths rather than dwell on my perceived shortcomings in them. 3. Talking about my health constantly. As ailments piled up, diabetes, chronic back pain, a rotating list of medications, I found myself leading with them in conversations. How are you? Became a springboard for a detailed rundown of my latest doctor's visit or the side effects of my new prescription. I thought I was just being open, sharing the reality of my day-to-day life, but I didn't see how it weighed others down. My sister stopped calling as often, and friends seemed to steer conversations elsewhere. It hit me one day when my neighbor said, "I miss hearing about your garden or your old hiking trips." My health had become my identity, and it was dragging down those who cared about me. They wanted to connect with the person I am, not just my diagnosis. I'm learning to balance honesty about my struggles with sharing the parts of me that still spark joy, like my love for cooking or my quirky sense of humor. It's made conversations lighter and relationships stronger. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 4. Giving unsolicited advice. I've always wanted the best for the people I love, so I'd offer advice freely. "You should marry someone stable," I'd tell my niece. Or, "Don't let your kids spend so much time on screens," I'd say to my son. To me, it was caring, a way to guide them based on my decades of experience. But to them, it often felt like control, like I didn't trust their judgment. I didn't realize how my words implied they were doing things wrong, or that my shoulds dismissed their unique circumstances. One day, my daughter-in-law snapped, "I appreciate your concern, but we're figuring it out." It was a wake-up call. I've since tried to shift from advising to listening, offering insights only when asked. It's humbling to realize that caring means respecting their autonomy, not trying to steer their lives. 5. Saying, "Back in my day, things were better." I often found myself reminiscing about a simpler time, when kids played outside until dark, when people talked face-to-face instead of texting, when life felt less chaotic. I'd say things like, "Back in my day, we didn't have all this technology ruining everything," thinking I was highlighting a better way. But I was missing the point. My grandchildren live in a different world, one with its challenges and wonders. By idealizing my past, I was dismissing their present. I saw it in their eyes when I'd start another back in my day rant. They'd tune out, feeling like I didn't care to understand their reality. Now, I make an effort to ask about their lives, what games they play, what music they love, what worries them. I've discovered they're navigating a complex world with creativity and resilience, and I'm learning from them as much as they might learn from me. 6. Demanding respect without offering any in return. When I was younger, I believed that growing older automatically entitled me to respect. I thought my age, my years of experience, and the wrinkles etched into my face were enough to command honor from everyone around me, family, friends, even strangers. I'd bristle when someone younger questioned my opinions or failed to defer to my judgment, thinking, "Don't they know I've lived through more than they ever will?" I'd demand respect with my tone, my posture, even my sharp words, expecting it to be handed to me like a crown I'd earned simply by surviving decades. But life has a way of humbling you. I began to notice that the more I demanded respect, the less I received it. My children would nod politely but grow distant. My grandchildren would avoid long conversations. It stung, and I didn't understand why. Until one day, during a heated family dinner, my daughter gently said, "Dad, respect isn't just about age. It's about how we treat each other." That hit me like a thunderbolt. I realized I hadn't been listening. Not really. I was so busy asserting my authority that I'd forgotten how to hear others' perspectives, to value their experiences, or to show them the kindness I expected in return. Respect, I learned, is a two-way street. It's not a prize you win for reaching a certain age, it's a gift you earn by giving it first. Now, I make it a point to listen, truly listen, when my grandchildren tell me about their lives. Even if I don't understand their slang or their obsession with apps, I ask questions. I nod. I let them teach me. And you know what? They light up. They call more often. They share their dreams. Respect flows both ways now, and it feels like a warmth I'd been missing for years. 7. Refusing to learn new things. I used to pride myself on being old school. When my kids tried to show me how to use a smartphone or set up a computer, I'd wave them off with a grumble. I've gotten by just fine without all that nonsense. I saw technology as a young person's game, something complicated and unnecessary for someone like me, who'd lived most of life with rotary phones and handwritten letters. But oh, how wrong I was. My stubborn refusal to learn didn't just keep me in the dark, it built a wall between me and the people I love most. I still remember the pang of regret when my granddaughter invited me to a video call for her birthday. I didn't know how to use the app, so I made excuses and missed it. Later, she sent me a photo of her blowing out her candles, her face glowing with joy, and I felt a hollow ache. I'd missed out on her laughter, her "I miss you, Grandpa," her stories about school and friends, all because I was too proud to ask for help with something as simple as a button on a screen. That was a wake-up call, so I swallowed my pride. I asked my son to teach me how to use that smartphone I'd been avoiding. It wasn't easy. My fingers fumbled, and I forgot steps more times than I care to admit. But every small victory, like sending my first text message or joining a video call, felt like a bridge rebuilt to my family. Now I get weekly video chats with my grandkids, hearing their giggles and seeing their faces light up my screen. I'm no tech wizard, but I'm learning. And those "I miss you, Grandpa" moments are worth every frustrating tutorial. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 8. Comparing myself to others constantly. For years, I fell into the trap of measuring my life against others. I'd see a neighbor my age jogging down the street and think, he's so much healthier than I am. What's he got that I don't? Or I'd hear about a friend whose kids visited every weekend and feel a bitter sting. Her kids are always around. Why don't mine make time for me? I'd scroll through photos of old classmates traveling the world or hosting big family gatherings, and each comparison chipped away at my contentment. I didn't realize how much energy I was wasting on envy, how it was turning me into someone resentful and small. Jealousy didn't make me stronger. It made me bitter. It clouded the good in my life, like the fact that I could still walk to the park every morning, or that my kids, though busy with their own lives, always called to check in. I was so focused on what others had that I couldn't see what I had. One day, sitting on my porch, I watched a neighbor laugh with his grandkids and felt that familiar pang. But instead of stewing, I asked myself, why not focus on what I can do? That shift in perspective was like opening a window in a stuffy room. I started small. I invited my son over for coffee instead of waiting for him to call. I sent a card to my daughter just because. I stopped comparing my health, my family, my life to others, and started appreciating what was mine. The bitterness faded, replaced by gratitude. I wasn't competing with anyone anymore. I was living for me, and that felt like freedom. 9. Neglecting my appearance. There was a time when I stopped caring about how I looked. I'm old, I'd tell myself, tossing on a faded shirt and mismatched socks. Who cares what I wear or how I look? I'm not trying to impress anyone. My hair went uncombed, my beard grew scruffy, and I'd shuffle out the door without a second glance in the mirror. I thought age gave me a free pass to let myself go, but I didn't realize how much my appearance shaped how I felt and how others saw me. One day, I caught my reflection in a store window and barely recognized the man staring back, slouched, unkempt, with a frown that seemed permanent. It hit me that I wasn't just neglecting my clothes or my grooming, I was neglecting myself. So I decided to make a change. I started small. I got a haircut, trimmed my beard, and dug out a clean, pressed shirt from the back of my closet. I stood a little taller, smiled a little more. The difference was astonishing. People at the grocery store started chatting with me. My neighbor complimented my new look. Even my grandkids noticed, one saying, "Grandpa, you look fancy today." It wasn't about vanity. It was about self-respect. Dressing neatly, grooming myself, and carrying myself with a bit of pride didn't just change how others saw me. It changed how I saw myself. I felt lighter, more confident, more alive. And when I smiled, the world smiled back. It's a simple thing, but it's a lesson I wish I'd learned sooner. Taking care of your appearance isn't about impressing others. It's about honoring the life you're still living. 10. Being grumpy, short-tempered, and negative. For years, I convinced myself that my bluntness was just honesty or keeping it real. I'd snap at a friend who offered advice, dismiss a family member's concern with a curt remark, or complain endlessly about the weather, the news, or the state of the world. I thought I was just being truthful, but in reality, I was building walls around my heart. My negativity wasn't just pushing people away. It was suffocating the kindness they tried to offer. I remember a moment at a family gathering when my daughter hesitated to share a joyful story because she feared my critical response. That pause in her eyes was a wake-up call. My grumpiness was dimming the light in those I loved most. It wasn't honesty, it was a habit of choosing complaints over connection. 11th, acting like a burden. I used to decline help with a stubborn wave of my hand, insisting I could manage alone. I'd stay home instead of joining friends for coffee, convincing myself I was too tired or didn't want to bother anyone. I'd shut people out, declining invitations or avoiding phone calls, only to sit in the quiet of my home wondering why I felt so lonely. One winter evening, I turned down a neighbor's offer to join them for dinner, claiming I didn't want to impose. Later, I overheard them laughing through the walls, and the ache of loneliness hit me hard. I realized I wasn't sparing others by isolating myself. I was depriving us all of shared moments. My pride had tricked me into believing solitude was strength when it was a barrier to the love and companionship I craved. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 12. Forgetting to say 2 simple words. Thank you. I used to take help for granted, assuming people should lend a hand. Whether it was a neighbor carrying my groceries, a friend checking in, or a grandchild running an errand, I rarely paused to express gratitude, thinking my quiet acceptance was enough. But I was wrong. I recall a moment when a colleague spent hours helping me sort through old paperwork, and I merely nodded as if it was expected. Later, I saw the disappointment in their eyes, and it struck me. Gratitude isn't just polite. It's a bridge that connects hearts. Saying thank you acknowledges someone's effort, their care, and their choice to show up for you. My failure to say those words left others feeling unseen, and it weakened the bonds I could have strengthened with just a moment of appreciation. I share these reflections not to dwell on guilt or to make you feel bad about your habits, but because I've learned a hard truth. At 78 years old, sitting in a quiet room with only my thoughts for company, small habits can quietly push away the people who love you most. These aren't grand betrayals or dramatic fights. They're the subtle daily choices that erode trust, warmth, and connection over time. But the beautiful thing is, it's never too late to change. At any age, we can rewrite the habits that shape our relationships. Now, I make it a point to say thank you more often. Whether it's for a small gesture like a smile from a cashier or a big one like a friend's listening ear, I've learned to listen before I speak, giving others the space to share their thoughts without my judgment or interruption. I take care to dress neatly, even for a short walk to the corner store, because presenting myself with care signals respect for myself and for those I meet. And most importantly, I've embraced the courage to apologize when I'm wrong. I used to think admitting fault was a sign of weakness, but now I see it as an act of love, a way to choose connection over pride. Just last week, I apologized to my son for dismissing his advice about a health concern. The relief in his voice when we reconciled was worth every ounce of humility. If you're over 60 and recognize even one of these habits in yourself, please don't feel ashamed. Aging brings wisdom, but it also brings patterns we've carried for decades, sometimes without noticing. The beauty of this moment is that we can still change. Every small shift, a kind word, an open ear, a heartfelt thank you, is a step towards stronger, warmer relationships with the people who matter most. Maybe it's biting back a critical comment, reaching out to someone you've pushed away, or pausing to say thank you for a small kindness. Share your commitment in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to take that first step. Every small change is a bridge to a deeper connection with those we love. If this reflection resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep learning to live with kindness, intention, and gratitude at any age. Together, we can build a community that values connection over pride and love over habit.